Hey, Songtown. Today we're going to talk about 4 characteristics of people who make a living with their music.
Yes.
Clay, you want to kick us off? What would be number 1?
For me, I would say grit. And I never
So
thought
they have
about
to be dirty, kind of like.
You do have to get your hands dirty,
Okay.
yes. My wife said to me years ago, she goes, you got to have a lot of grit to be in the music business. And I had never really thought about it because I've talked before about how I just had blinders on and I was doing the work and I wasn't really thinking a lot about it. But she was like, no, I watch how there's so much rejection. Every day there's rejection, but you keep going and you keep writing and you keep working to get better and keep looking for new opportunities. And she's like, it takes a lot of grit, when the whole world seems to be telling you give up. There's something about you that keeps going, foolishness. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Ignorance.
I just know, and then I started looking at all my friends who had careers in songwriting and they were the same way, and I think that's my number one thing now.
Yeah, my first publisher told me one time that the difference in successful people and people that are not successful is that the successful people didn't quit.
Right.
And I think there's just so much and he would say, it's all about just keeping your butt in the chair, like keep showing up every day, keep doing the thing. And I think that's that grit you're talking about. It's like even when you're discouraged and you don't feel like it, whatever, just being determined to do it. I think the second one for me would be diversity. Most of the successful people that I see making a living with music do several things with their music. They're not just like focused on one thing. So like I had a friend that wrote Texas swing music and he was great at it. And when George Strait was cutting a lot of that, he did really well. But then he didn't do that. Later on there was not people cutting that kind of music. And so his lack of diversity really hurt him.
Right.
And, I think of it as, I try to have male songs and female songs in my catalog. I try to have songs that are, pop and pop country and, just all different kinds of genres. And, I play shows. So I'm always looking for, how can I supplement what my living with my music? And there's lots of different ways to do that.
Yeah, you write for sync music.
Yeah, writing for sync or writing for musical theater, all those kind of things.
You have a play going into production.
Yeah.
What is that about?
So we have a play I've been working on for about 8 years.
Wow.
That's we'll be rehearsing in New York for in about 2 weeks. So
man,
then it debuts at Bucks County Playhouse on March 8th.
Can you say the title of the play?
Yeah, it's called Hard Road to Heaven.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Hard Road to Hell.
No,
I like the contrast, the hard road to heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
So, but anyway, that diversity, I think, is a hallmark of people that are successful a lot of times.
Yeah.
What would the next one be for you?
I think it goes along with what you're saying, adaptability. Because I know at one point in my career, I felt I was good at one thing, had some success, and then that wasn't popular anymore. So I kind of had to pivot and grow myself, grow my skills, become better at creating tracks, different things that I didn't see myself doing in the beginning. And I think that's probably how I was able to keep going for so long, is to be diverse. And I see that adaptability to walk into any room and be able to come up with what is needed that day. For instance, I might walk into a room with one artist and I'm writing a lot of lyrics that day.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't a great lyric writer when I first came to town. I was more focused on music. I started writing with the great lyric writers. I go, oh, I've got to get better at this. Then I was able, because of that, I got better at it. I was able to work with a Darius Rucker and come up with lyrics that he felt like singing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we have to grow. We have to become adaptable. One day you might need to write lyrics. One day in another room, you might need to write melody. You might need to put down a rough track of a song and have your recording skills down. So I think just being adaptable to any situation is going to help.
No, that's great. I mean, I'm much stronger lyrically than I am melodically, and that's usually why I get invited into a co-write. So it's usually the expectation that I'll be doing the heavy lifting on lyrics. But there's plenty of days when somebody else is kind of on lyrically, and I have to take a back seat and maybe even contribute melodically more.
Yeah.
So just that idea of being, I want to adapt to whatever the song needs in that situation. And also to kind of, I think along with that adaptability is kind of being a lifelong learner and being willing to continue to grow and stretch yourself all the time with your writing.
I think I had an unfair advantage with the adaptability thing because starting out in New York, I wrote sync music, and literally one day they would go, we need a piece that sounds like classical music in this style. The next day it would be, we need a dance song for this artist to sing. Then the next day it's like, we need something that sounds like a rock song from Queen, back in the day. And so being able to do that, at first I didn't like it. I was like, well, this is not my style.
All over the place, yeah.
I'm all over the place. Then fast forward when I got my first publishing deal in Nashville, they started hooking me up with artists. So my ability to walk in with Little Big Town, figure out what they needed that day, then go over and work with Lady Antebellum, Diamond Rio, whoever the act was, to be able to shift gears and come up with something new and different for the room that day. I think that training that I did not like, in the beginning, I think it helped me out a lot.
No, that is great. The fourth one for me is being open to new ideas. Just kind of that in improv, they talk about like yes and,
right,
and not shutting off anything that comes at you. And I think it's really important to look at opportunities that come with an open mind of like, okay, that's not what I've done before, but maybe that's a cool thing. That's how I got into the musical theater stuff, is just being open to, let me hear about that. Let me see if that's something that my skill set might work for. And so I think just that attitude of being open to new things, to new opportunities, and you and I both have said yes to things at times when we had no idea what to do.
My philosophy was to never say no.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody said, "Can you do this?" Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'll figure it out.
Yeah, you say you jump off the cliff and build the airplane on the way down.
Yeah.
And so I think that's extremely important. I'll tell one more story. When I got my first publishing deal, EMI Music, they hooked me up with a writer who had a bunch of hits. And I was so excited. I went into his writing room. There were gold records all on the wall, but he hadn't had any gold records in like 15 years. And the whole session, he was complaining about, today's music sucks. I mean, this wasn't today. This was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And 20 years ago, he was saying today's music is awful. And just complaining. Well, we wrote a song, and my publisher's like, it's okay, Next week, they hooked me up with Rory Burke. This guy's had hits in 5 decades. Talk about a career. And I walk in, same thing. There were platinum gold records all over the wall. He couldn't stop talking about this new kid that he was writing with that was 17, that just moved to town. And he was just going on and on about, he does this. And it was just like night and day from the other guy. Well, we wrote a song that day, positive vibe going, and my publisher loved it. Took it out and got it cut. And that just showed me that input of complaining, it shrinks your hippocampus. Or is it hippocampus?
Hippocampus. Yeah.
Do you know what that is?
It's part of your brain. That's
Yes.
as deep as I go with it. Yeah.
Well, apparently complaining shrinks your hippocampus and restricts your creativity.
Yeah. And most successful people that are songwriters are not complaining about songwriting or about other people's work or how bad the songs are on the radio and that kind of stuff.
No, they're too busy creating their own art to trash someone else's art.
Yeah.
Be the change, not the complaint.
Whoa, that's a good place to end.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you appreciate the content, hit the subscribe button and help us grow. Shout out to Sweetwater Music. It's where Marty and I get all our musical gear. Great people. We'll see you guys around town. Right on.